Thank you, Todd. Todd Feinburg is the other person in case you forgot. Let me just take a few minutes because it's important for us to remember all of the work that Americans for Prosperity Foundation has done here in New Hampshire over the past couple of years to be able to do events like this. In April of this year, as I mentioned earlier, Americans for Prosperity Foundation hosted a presidential summit where 600 people from New Hampshire came and had the opportunity to hear from 5 potential presidential candidates about the impact and the importance of the New Hampshire primary. Earlier this summer, I had the opportunity to travel to Minnesota to take part in a conference called Right Online, hosted by our national Americans for Prosperity, at which Mr. Breitbart and Ms. O'Keefe both attended. And while they were important to that program, there was an individual from New Hampshire who was bestowed a very unique honor. Out of all of the individuals in the country that Americans for Prosperity at the national level recognizes, this year the Activist of the Year was given to a New Hampshire resident who's with us today. His name is Skip Murphy, who runs the GraniteGrok. On the tables in front of you, you will find 2 documents, the first of which is a scorecard. That scorecard is our foundation's attempt to educate you on how your elected officials are voting in Concord. They may tell you one thing and vote a different way. What we have literally done is look at all 400 members of the House, the 24 members of the State Senate, and without regard to our position, we've simply reported their voting records and graded them each accordingly. And you will see that there are a series of A+, particularly in the House, and A's. And then there's a huge dichotomy, a series of D's and F's. In the Senate, you will see that there are a couple A+, a whole bunch of C's because they're really not that good, and then a whole bunch of F's and D's. So, while we've had some success in New Hampshire of electing conservatives, there is still much more work to do. So I encourage you to look at that scorecard and approach your elected officials when you see them at the grocery store or when they come to you and ask for your vote for re-election. And ask them why they voted either for or against the issues of liberty which you have in front of you. Still to come this November, we'll be down in Washington, D.C. to participate in an event hosted by our national organization called the Defending the Dream Summit, an event which I've personally attended on 4 different occasions now. It's an opportunity to meet with other like-minded individuals from across the country who believe in the same core principles we do. Some of the previous keynote speakers at that event have included Republican South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint, nationally syndicated columnist George Will. All of the major 2008 Republican presidential candidates spoke at that event. And for anyone who wants to know more about the event, there are some flyers on your table there that I hope you have the opportunity to come down and attend with us. So with that behind us, that brings us to today's panel. It is my privilege today to be able to share this stage with 3 media giants. But before I introduce them, I want to caution you that at some time during today's presentation, the stage may actually collapse due to the size of the egos on the stage, myself included. That said, I'd like to ask our first participant of the panel to come and join me to my immediate left, and that first participant is Todd Feinburg. Todd Feinburg is a regular talk show host in Boston. He is the co-host on WRKO with the former speaker of another former speaker, indicted former convicted felon speaker, Finner and convicted Finnis. So many felons down there in Massachusetts. Todd just gets stuck with them all. I guess another one just this week. But Todd is a unique individual. He gets up at 2 o'clock in the morning every day. Is proud to do that because he comes on the radio at 5:30 every day following the Wall Street Journal Report, which is one of my favorite segments on their channel. Other than yours, of course. As a way of background, Todd has worked in the media industry for over 15 years as a disc jockey, as a news director, as a beautiful music announcer, which I'm not really sure what that means. Started in New Hampshire, and his favorite, I think, stint was a helicopter traffic reporter, so it was one of those sounds in the background. Todd has toured the Middle East several times since September 11th, visiting Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Oman. In 2005, he spent 6 weeks as a long-term substitute teacher in an urban middle school so that he could gain some first-hand experience with the public schools, the communist Cambridge, Massachusetts. Todd's been named 3 times to the Talkers magazine list of top 100 most important talk hosts in America. Born in Lexington, Massachusetts, he and his wife still reside in Massachusetts and on the North Shore with their grandchildren right around the corner. So it's my pleasure today to introduce Todd Feinburg to join our panel. Our next panelist, I think, is no stranger to you, Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart has so many stories and has gained so much notoriety I don't know where to begin. The one thing I have asked him is not to show the picture of Mr. Wiener's wiener, if we can avoid that. That said, again, he needs no introduction, but he is probably best known or most well known for his recent ability to remove Congressman Wiener's lying ass out of office. Mr. Breitbart runs a series of blogs, was influential and one of the founding members of the Drudge Report, one of my favorite sites, and is going to, I am sure, entice you, excite you, and tell you some amazing stories as we begin this panel discussion today. So it's my pleasure to have him with us today. Thank you. Our third and final participant, I think you've already seen on the stage, so it's a bit anticlimactic. But James O'Keefe has joined us as well. As many of you know, and as Tom has said, James O'Keefe is an investigative journalist and filmmaker. He's the president of Project Veritas, a nonprofit organization dedicated to training video muckrakers nationwide. James is well known for his 2009 Acorn investigation, which exposed systematic corruption in multiple offices. Almost single-handedly, due to James O'Keefe's efforts, the U.S. House and Senate voted to defund Acorn and end that program. So thank you, James, for saving our taxpayer money. I will, please be seated. What we will do now is, let me just run through how the panel will work, and then I will ask each of the participants to make some opening remarks for 6 or 8 minutes to talk about their background and things that they think are most important. We will then ask each of the participants some questions. They'll have the opportunity to spend 4 or 5 minutes answering them each. And then if there are time for audience questions, what I would ask you to do is to come up. There's a microphone set up. We'll bring it to the center. Indicate which panel or panelist you want to, which member of the panel you want to address your question to, state your name, and then we'll have the opportunity to ask some more questions afterwards. There are also, there's a 50-50 raffle on my far left that we will draw today before everyone leaves, and the prize is obviously 50% of the money. There are a very few books for Mr. Breitbart to autograph and sign if someone has an interest in that. We have a few of those available. And with that said, I think we shall begin.